Hi everyone, Barbara Rankin here today, and we are going to alter one of these door hangers from Gypsy Soul Laser Cuts. Now, when you buy this, you get 2 door hangers in the package. We are only going to work on one, so I'll put this one aside for later. Now, there's lots of area to decorate, so this is going to be a lot of fun. Now, I do know I'm going to use this cuckoo clock from Gypsy Soul, so before I add any texture to the background, I want to see where this will fit nicely because I do have the pendulums to add to the bottom. So I'll move it around for the best placement, and I may want to put it along this edge for maximum height to accommodate the long pendulums, even though I know I will need to shorten them a bit. Now I want to add some texture to the background along the edges and up along the top section of the door hanger. So I'm going to draw a pencil line around the clock just to give me an idea of how far inward I can add that texture. And I'm not worried about the pencil marks because they will be covered with gesso later. I'm going to be using this Quarterfoil 6x6 stencil from Clear Scraps and light molding paste from Golden. I'll spread it in sections through the stencil with a spatula. I'll be spreading it in a slightly random fashion so I don't get squared off edges. If I do, I will just go back in with the spatula and remove sections of paste until I like the way it looks. I think it gives the background a bit more interest when it isn't perfect. Be sure to clean your stencil and tools off right away. While my molding paste is drying, I took this opportunity to grab this tiny shingle stencil, also from Gypsy Soul, and seal it with crystal clear acrylic coating from Krylon. Now, you can use anything you have on hand that will seal the chipboard and preserve it to enable you to use it as a stencil. Okay, I want to use this little shingles stencil to add texture and dimension to my cuckoo clock. Now I am going to leave this little window or door inside, but not while I'm adding the molding paste because I don't want any texture on this. It's going to actually be a window. So I've marked my roof line with pencil so that I can cover the roof line and the ornamentation along the sides with clean release blue tape so that I can keep it texture free. I'm sticking the tape to my skin first to collect a bit of oil to keep it from sticking too much to the chipboard. Now I'm going to use my light molding paste with the stencil, but first I want to align the shingles up with the center of the roof at the top and center it down to the bottom. Then I'll spread a thick layer of the paste through the stencil. I'll give the paste a quick blast with my heat tool, just long enough to get a skin on top of the paste to protect it slightly so I can realign the stencil and continue adding the texture to the bottom of the clock. Just before the paste dries completely, I'll carefully remove the blue tape from my chipboard. Now, the next thing I want to do is add the window pieces to the cuckoo clock. And I've chosen these 2 pieces from the Decorative Windows 1 to 24 size. Now, this window section is slightly larger than the clock opening, so I want to remove some of the excess paste around it because the wall shouldn't be showing through the window. So I centered it over the window and marked the inside with a pencil so I could take a craft knife and cut it away. It's very easy to do, and you could even sand it away with a piece of sandpaper. After removing some of the paste, check the window piece to see if you need to remove more, and if so, just continue cutting the paste away until you are satisfied. While I was handling the clock, I accidentally broke off a small section. These laser cuts sometimes have very delicate parts, so you need to be careful, but I will be able to glue this down to the door hanger when I attach the clock. Having said that, I want to get this glued down as soon as possible before I lose that little piece. So I'm going to use my tacky glue for this. I like to apply a thin coat with my finger because it will dry quicker and grab faster. Now remember, I wanted to put my little window piece back in the opening, so I'll glue that down first, then I'll add the window elements. Now I want to figure out the length of my pendulums before I glue them down. You will want one to be longer than the other, so I'm laying them down and marking where to cut them off. Then just glue them down with dabs of glue. I have a little puddle of glue off to the side of the camera's view where I'm picking it up from my craft mat. Next, I'm going to cover the opening of the clock with one of the Punch Elements Deco. But before I do, I need to make a center hole in the 2 layers to add this clock plate from Prima and the accompanying brad and clock hands. First, we'll need to center the clock plate over the deco piece and mark the hole with an awl. Remove the plate and carefully finish punching the hole, being careful to keep your fingers out of the way. Repeat this process with the top circle chipboard, and then we will assemble the pieces together. I'm thinking it will be much easier if I gesso them separately beforehand, though. So I'll disassemble the clock pieces again and start priming all my chipboard pieces with black gesso. If you don't have black gesso, you can use black acrylic paint. Either product will work fine. Just use what you have. Before proceeding, you'll want to let the gesso dry. Reassemble the clock parts and glue to the center of the cuckoo clock opening. Now let's add some color. I have 3 silks paints from Color Art: Bolivian Blue, Moss Green, and Caribbean Mist. I am using the lightest Caribbean Mist first, then blending in the darker Bolivian Blue as I work my way down to the bottom of the hanger. As I work my way back up the other side, I bring the Caribbean Mist back in, blending it towards the top, then blending in the Moss Green the rest of the way. I don't even clean my brush because the colors blend beautifully. Now I'm going to use Golden Monarch silks to paint the cuckoo clock. This is a nutty brown color with copper tones. I'm using a smaller brush this time to get into some of the smaller spaces. Every now and then you'll see me dip my brush in the water and dry it on a towel just to dampen the brush a bit, which will allow me to remove some of the color in certain areas, such as along the roof line. Now I'm adding that same color to the pendulums. I want to darken some areas of the cuckoo clock with dark umber primary elements. This is a powdered pigment that can be used to make your own acrylic paint or wash. I'm going to concentrate on the roofline and the ornamentation on the edges of the clock. It's a subtle color difference, but it's very effective. I also decided to color the birds on top of the clock. Okay, I've been dying to try these new Opal Magic Waxes from Prima Finnabar. And I have turquoise satin, green brocade, and vintage silk. Now basically, I'm applying the vintage silk to the brown areas, the turquoise satin to the blue areas, and the green brocade to the green areas. However, I did mix them up a bit here and there, and they only continue to enhance the colors. You do have a few seconds to wipe away any unwanted wax before it dries. I really don't see how you can make any mistakes with this stuff. Now this white clock face is bothering me. It's a bit too bright for this piece, so I'm going to take some vintage photo distress ink and apply it with my blending tool. I know this is not permanent ink, but I do plan to give it a clear coat spray to seal everything, especially since it will be handled quite a bit. And also since I didn't use any binder when I applied the burnt umber powdered pigments. That will also rub off if I don't seal it. So just think about that when you use your pigments or your non-permanent inks. Alright, so I want to add a little dimension to my cuckoo clock with my Lumiere 3D dimensional metallic paint. This one is called Brass. So the ball that's between the two bird figures at the top of the clock needs some dimension. So I want to add a dot of the paint there, which will dry dimensional and look like a bead or something along that line. So I zoomed in a little bit so you can see this better. I just want to add some dots of paint on the punch elements around the clock. This will add some detail and interest to the piece. Here is a close-up of those beads of paint after they have dried. I think they look pretty awesome. Now all that's left to do is decide whether I'm in or out. On this finished side I will be in, and when I flip it, I will make this my out side. I found these chipboard letters, and as you can see, there is a variety of color and pattern on them, but that doesn't matter because I'm going to prime them with black gesso. Oh, here's a tip for you. I should have done this to begin with. Place a strip of double-sided tape down and lay the letters on top. Now they will stick and stay in place while you paint them, and you won't paint your fingers too. Once I finish painting the letters, I'll just leave them there until they're dry. The letters are good and dry now, so I'm going to paint them with the golden monarch silks again to match the cuckoo clock. However, I think I need to add some burnt umber to bring that copper color back in to really match the clock. There, that's perfect. Once dry, I will glue these down to the hanger. Of course I'm going to use my old standby fast grab tacky glue, and then I'll just add a weight until the letters dry. While the glue is drying on the letters, I decided that the roof still needed something, so I added these metal stickers that I've had for years. Use whatever you have in your stash. Everything is dry, so I went outside to spray it with Krylon Crystal Clear Spray Acrylic Coating. I did that for two reasons. First, I need to seal the powdered pigment I used to prevent it from rubbing off. And second, I really want to protect what I've done because when I start working on side 2, I may get some paint on my finished side, and I want to be able to remove any unwanted paint or marks I may leave in the process. Now, in the interest of time, I'll finish up the second side in a part 2 of this video. So I hope you'll come back in a few weeks to see just how we do it. Be sure to subscribe to my channel if you don't already do so, because you'll get notified when my next video comes out. In the meantime, please stick around now for some still photos and close-ups. I'll post a complete list of supplies in the description area below the video. For more inspiration, you can find me on these social media links. If you enjoyed today's project video, please give me a thumbs up, and I hope you will consider subscribing to my channel. Thanks for watching, and always take time to play. See you next time.